Hello, everyone. This is your host, Carrie Logan at Master the Upper Rooms. And before we begin, I believe all of us have experienced procrastination. All of us, in some way, some form, have procrastinated, either to get out of something or not do something. And we're just stuck in this procrastination rut. And so today, I've got a procrastination coach, and his name is Christopher. And his mission is to empower and inspire people to overcome procrastination and to live a life that is more productive, fulfilling, and aligned with their deepest values, because everyone's journey is different. And he and I both believe that there are boundless potentials within each one of us that will create a positive and lasting change. So, with that all said, I'm excited to dive into this. Christopher, how are you this fine day?
Oh, I am great, Carrie. Can't complain. I'm up in Ontario. We've got this, it's actually a little bit above zero still. So, can't complain. No snow. Don't have to shovel it. So I'm good. How about yourself?
It's cold and foggy here, but it's beautiful. I love the fog. It's really nice. So I'm kind of curious, what got you into this? I mean, not many people one day wake up and be like, "Ooh, I'm going to be a procrastination coach."
Honestly, it was a business coach and a sort of a mentor that got me into the space. I've actually been doing kind of the same thing for about the last 20 years, just without the title. I have a strong background in corporate, working with teams. So I was always dealing with productivity, system processes, burnout, and procrastination. Especially as it relates to project management and a lot of business development. So what happened was I suffered a pretty major case of burnout. I'd moved my family from Nicaragua back up to Canada, and I was about to get started on another project that would be, taking me probably 80 to 90 hours a week again. And I noticed that I'd been doing that for the 13 years prior. So I had, what was the result of that, right? I had an estranged wife, estranged kids. So I said, I gotta take, I have to take control of this. And then my mentor said, well, why not be like a coach? Like, you just pick up a couple of certifications with your background. And I said, okay, well, why not? And so, long story short, here we are today.
Awesome. So, what is your perspective on procrastination?
So, procrastination is simply the act of, delaying or putting something off that you feel you should be doing. It's often mislabeled and misused. Again, anyone who's suffering procrastination, you're not broken, you're not lazy. Laziness doesn't really exist. I can go into that a little bit later. But there are five main types, or the archetypes that people tend to fall into if they're procrastinating. So we have the perfectionist, right? They're always waiting, right time, right person, right set of circumstances. Or it has to be perfect or it's not going at all. Then we have the worriers. The worriers are, the ones that can find excuses for everything, right? And, I fall into this. It's Saturday morning, you got to cut your lawn. Okay, it's Saturday morning. All right. What if I go out there and my, lawnmower doesn't have any juice in it? Oh, dang it, it does. Okay, well, what if it's going to rain? Oh, it's bright and sunny. Well, it's 8 o'clock Saturday morning. What if my neighbor doesn't like? So you see, I can make up excuses all day long about worrying about what the different outcomes are. And then we have the dreamers. I think the dreamers I relate to the most. They generally have these really big visions. They want to change something. They want to do something, build a business, and they just can't seem to get off that starting mark. Whether it's they get lost in the details or they just become uninterested in doing it because let's face it, planning something is really fun, and then going through the steps is sometimes really brutally boring. And next up, we have the crisis makers. The crisis makers, I think, one we can all relate to as well. I tend to go back to my high school years for this one. It's just nothing's important until it's urgent.
Right.
So and these people tend to say they work well under pressure. I did that for quite a while. and they always have to have that sort of deadline, and they always have to be really close to that deadline to get that either the adrenaline rush or again the sense of urgency it needs to be done. The last one I have under there is the defiers. And, I take these back to children. We don't like being told what to do. And so it's actually one of the simplest forms of procrastination to kind of get over, as if, you simply just don't like being told what to do. Just so in that sense, it's one of the easiest ones. It doesn't come up too much. At least in my practice, it doesn't come up too much. And it's just simply taking it away from, I don't have to do anything. I choose to do it. And then just, taking that power back for yourself.
Yeah. No, I hear you, and I love it how you just kind of defined different mindsets and perspectives of different people of how they can, be stuck, and it's related to procrastination. So when you work with someone and you're working on transforming negative habits, what is your approach? How do you go about that? Like, can you give an example or share a story?
hmm I can give an example. So, um, what we tend to want to do with different habits is we want to make it as easy as possible for you to form the new habit or to break the old habit. And one of the easiest ways to do that is through bridging. So, bridging and anchoring. So, bridging is simply taking one activity you already normally do, and then you anchor that because it's something that's already in your routine, and then you add on what it is you want to do. So we call them cues or we call them triggers. So let's say I want to. I did this one myself for daily affirmations. Remind myself to be grateful and think positively and things like that. So I tied that with brushing my teeth. So every time I brush my teeth, now I know, oh, okay, and I'm reciting that in my head now because I anchored it to brushing my teeth, which is something that, I do every day and you know, I don't, okay, I don't normally miss it, but to be honest, some late nights and some early mornings. But that's definitely one of the easiest ways to do it. You want to, first of all, though, I do want to go into this is that when your why is high, your cost is low. So why do you need this new habit? What would having this new habit do for you? And really cementing in the benefits way before you do actually anything else. And then just baby steps, and then rewarding yourself in some way as you're making that progress as well. So let's say I want to read. Let's say my goal is I want to start reading for 40 minutes each night. So what am I going to do to that? I want to anchor that to another activity I already do. So maybe it is just getting up and going to brush my teeth, right? And since we're not supposed to, have any screen time after that, I could replace my screen time by saying, okay, I'm going to sit in my chair and I'm going to read a book for 40 minutes instead. Um, there's literally tons of examples out there for that. Bridging and
Anchoring.
yeah, anchoring. Yeah.
I've done that for people that struggle with, let's say, alcohol, because
Mm-hmm.
they created the habit of always having a drink. And one of the greatest tools that I found is Tension Tamer Tea. It's by Celestial Seasons. And a lot of people that struggle with the drinking habit, I said, oh no, you can have this hot, you can have it cold, whenever. It takes the edge off. And you're still drinking, you're just not drinking alcohol. And that's really why you're drinking, is to take the edge off. So it is creating a new habit and anchoring it with a beverage.
Yeah, I like that. Um, Definitely when, especially talking alcoholism, that's a topic that hits pretty close to home. I was a very high functioning alcoholic for many years. Um, and honestly, I'm one of the few that probably just did it cold turkey because my reason was big enough. But when I'm working with somebody who's got like an addiction like that, normally what we try to do is replacement, but at the same time we try to get into the root cause
Oh yeah.
because as with anything, and I mean, I've seen some amazing programs out there. There was one running in Costa Rica. I saw a guy. He was chemically addicted to heroin, and he was off it in 7 days, like
Wow.
literally 7 days. And it was just it's just amazing at literally the power of the mind. And once you've found and you've anchored to what's causing that, you can pretty easily reverse it.
You can, because I remember having a woman, I think it was about 12 years ago, reach out to me that was addicted to Oxycontin. And I didn't know what that really was. And I said, well, let me research it and I'll make a generalized recording if you're willing to be my guinea pig and give it to you for free. Listen to it. And she gave me an amazing testimonial because it worked. And that's why our minds are so powerful, because consciously we know we shouldn't be doing X, Y, and Z, but the operating system, our subconscious mind, it's wired in there, it's ingrained. There's a reason why. And like you said, when you get to what the root is and you clear it, and you then see yourself, because visualization too, our mind doesn't know the difference if you're really going to a gym and lifting a little weight, or sitting in a couch and visualizing doing it. You can still actually gain a little bit of muscle mass, which blows people away. We are so powerful. The most important thing I tell people is you want to listen to it for 30 days, because it takes 30 days to create a new habit, a new behavior. You want to get a gold medal. You don't want to test drive it. You want to anchor it in. You want to deactivate the negative and reinforce the positive. So
Yeah, you certainly do. Um, Actually, that reminds me of traditions, Christmas traditions, and everybody's gearing up for the holidays, and there are all these things they do to put so much stress on themselves, but really it's just a mindset thing, right?
it is a mindset. And it's crazy because perfectionist people, the present has to be wrapped perfectly. The bow on it has to be perfect. And for me, when I get a present that's not wrapped properly, it looks like it's been wrapped by an 8-year-old. I'm like, ooh, this is a good one. I get all excited because I'm like, I know your heart was in the present, but wrapping is just not your skill. But hey, I'm so excited to see what you got me.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just
I
different.
like that. No, yeah, I like that with the perfectionist too, but couple that with a healthy dose of people pleasing, and they want it to be perfect. So they've got this double negative going against them. They want, not only does everything have to be perfect, they have to want the other person to see it as perfect too, and that's where we run into a lot of Christmas strife for sure.
I think yes, because I used to have a friend that um, would go over the top, was a perfectionist, and the wrapping was exceptional and the bow was perfect. And I looked at it and I was like, this is a lot of work, a lot of energy. But if you really knew me, I'd be fine with it. Just even in a bag with paper, you know, the nice colored paper. I'd be totally fine. But that's their mindset. So let's talk about motivation techniques, because some people really need motivation techniques to get unstuck from procrastination. What are your suggestions?
It really comes down to um, the kind of procrastination, but some generic ones of really finding the motivation is to really sit down and understand why you're putting it off, and break it down into as many small steps as you possibly can, because there's literally no one task that is the task or the thing or the event that's bothering you. It's one particular aspect of that, and if you can kind of rearrange it, would be able to be more motivated to do it. I'll give you a real example. So I don't go to the gym, but I try to get outside. I have some weights in my garage. I have an exercise bike, treadmill. The setup. Get up at 5:30 every morning, and try and get out there to do it. So summer came, And I was using my daughter as an excuse, like, oh, my daughter's out of school, we're going to do fun things, I'm going to sleep in more. But it's okay because I'll get back into it once, school gets back into session. So school gets back into session, and things are okay for a little bit. But now it's been about 2 weeks, and I'm like, okay, Chris, what's going on? Okay, so it's not the fact that I'm going out, getting up at 5:30. That's fine. I'm fine with that. The exercise itself, I'm fine with that. Oh, it's colder outside, so the garage is now cold. Oh, okay. There's my hesitation.
Right.
But if I can fix that, then it goes away. So there's always lots of little examples like that as well. I was speaking to somebody about mopping the floor, and it wasn't the act of mopping. It was another aspect of actually putting it away afterwards, which is why they absolutely hated doing the mopping. Or there was another one where we talked about doing the laundry, and I kind of related to this one a little bit too. Doing the laundry, putting it in the hamper is fine. You know, putting it out, putting it in the washer, soaping it, that's fine. Taking it out, putting it in the dryer, that's fine. But ask me to put it and fold it and put it away? No, nah, not interested at all. So we have to find different motivation techniques. Or actually, this individual was really intelligent about it because he and his wife have an understanding that okay, there's certain things we really don't like. So if possible, I'll do this, but you do this part of it. So delegating can be a good one. But if you can't delegate, then we have to motivate ourselves to do it. So how do we do this? We Gamification actually works really well for a lot of people, like giving yourself an incentive or a small reward. So saying that, if I go through and do this laundry, I'll give myself, one little stamp or gold star. And when I get 10 of those, then I'm going to go, I don't know, dirt biking, or I'm going to go gaming, or I'm going to go do whatever it is that you might like to do, right? So actually gamifying it is a really good way to motivate yourself for sure.
Yeah. So, like for me, I'm very similar to you with the terms of laundry. So, the negotiation I make for me is there's a certain audiobook that I really want to listen to. And the only time I can listen to it is if I'm sorting laundry or I'm cooking or I'm doing a certain activity that I can listen and still do something. So it's for me, it's sort of like a win-win because I look forward to, ooh, I really want to finish that audiobook, but no, I got to wait till the laundry's done, and sorting it. But it's making negotiations with me.
Well, and then holding yourself to those negotiations. Yeah, but that's a good one too. If I can do this, then I can do this, or I can only do this if I'm doing this. So yeah,
Right.
I like that.
Right. So, like, for example, like there's a show someone likes to watch, and you got to get on the treadmill and exercise. Well, the only way you can watch that show is if you're on the treadmill and you watch the whole show, which is maybe 45 minutes. So, you got your 45 minutes out on the treadmill, but you're watching something that you enjoy. It's kind of like tricking yourself.
Actually, I had thought about this. Wasn't something that I've done, but I had thought about the idea where, they got these pedal bikes that you can power up the lights and stuff when you're pedaling. I wonder how hard you'd have to pedal to power like a small like screen to get like Netflix or something.
Never know. Yeah.
I think I might be try.
So let's talk about distractions because there are so many distractions, that can be externally, internally. How do we deal with distractions?
Well, in terms of distractions, simply eliminating them as much as you can is probably the best thing you can do, which is hard to do. And we have to understand that, it's not our fault that we're distracted. We're actually programmed to be distracted. This is especially true with things like, Twitter, X, Facebook, Instagram. They specifically have algorithms, and they're constantly trying to find ways to keep you on the platform longer. So it's not only that you get distracted, it's they're keeping you in that distraction. So honestly, simply just taking that I mean, if you can do it, just take it off your phone entirely, or at least, minimize your kind of like your itchy clicker finger, I guess, and just put them on like I had one person I was working with in South Africa. She couldn't take it off her phone at all. She literally just got so tight and tense just thinking about it, right? It was a severe, like pretty severe addiction. But, she was able to move those icons to the third page of her home screen. So she'd had to swipe at least twice to
Right.
get to it. And that helped her to get off of that. Barring being able to, eliminate distractions, the other thing is to really try and be in the moment. So practice your mindfulness. Um, we can both expand and contract our fields of focus, which is a really interesting and annoying capability all at once for human beings, because we can sit there and we can see everything in our peripheral vision. We can, be there and not be really focused. And then we can also focus, down into like a single key. If I'm looking at my keyboard, I can focus all the way down into like that H and just that's all I'm focused on. So being mindful and actually in the present helps you to avoid distractions because again, I mean, I'm sure you've had this before where you've been so engrossed in a show or so engrossed in a book that you're dead to the world around you.
Um, Sometimes yes, sometimes no. I I tend to be very self-aware, and I look at it is my time is very valuable and very precious, and it is more important than that show or that book or whatever else something is. So like when you were talking about social media, I don't have it on my phone at all. None. The only time I go on social media is on my desktop PC. That's the only time. And I keep that agreement because I've heard nightmare stories of people just literally they wake up in the middle of the night and they're bored. And so they put on their phone and that bright light wakes you up and they're scrolling and they're scrolling and they're scrolling. And then they realize, oh my God, an hour, 2 hours just went by. And now I got to wake up in 3 hours and go to work. I'm exhausted. What am I going to do? And it is a bad addiction for a lot of people, but I had to really get it in my mind that I am more important and more valuable than that device.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be really hard for a lot of people to get that mindset because they've, like you said, the algorithms, they know how to suck you in. They know how to trap you in. They know what ads to post. They know what, all that stuff. When I post on social media, I go on, I post it. I might look at stuff my friends have, like 5 minutes. I limit myself 5 minutes. That's it. And then I'm done. And I don't look at it until I do my work again and I post the next time. But my life does not revolve around it at all, period. Because I don't want to be manipulated by some device. But that's my personal feeling. Other people like, oh, that's kind of harsh or whatever. But no, I have so much more to do with my life that I want to do that will bring me more joy and happiness.
Well, no, you raise a very valid point there because one of the things about using social media is that we tend to want to record and we tend to want to um, get all these moments, right? Even back before we had a social media, back when we had camcorders and things, right? But we were more focused on the camera and getting the angle right on baby's first steps than we were in actually celebrating those first steps with the baby.
Right.
And that only gets worse now that we've got cell phones because now it's, we're looking at sunsets, but we're not looking at sunsets. I mean, I asked somebody, how many sunsets have you actually seen over the last 5 years? Because they have this Instagram full of sunsets. Like, how many have you actually seen? They're like, oh, hundreds. No, how many have you seen and experienced?
Right.
And even just looking at them too. Like, if you're in the moment, you're catching a lot more detail than you are through the picture. So the picture, you can see that, maybe there were it's a nice sunset. There's a building. There's a couple of people standing there. Maybe if you've been paying attention, you would have been able to see some of their backstory. Like, they were a couple that just got engaged or whatever. But if you just take the picture and then 10 years from now you go and you look at it, oh yeah, there looked like there's some people there. It looked pretty nice. There's no I've noticed that there, even though, and this is something that I've battled with my life as well, because my mother was really heavy into having pictures and things like that, right? And I don't have very many pictures. If somebody asks me to provide pictures of myself, I have a hard time doing it. And I don't feel any less. You know, I don't feel like I'm any less connected to those memories. But I sometimes wonder if by capturing the moment, we're not also losing a bit of it in translation.
Right. Well, and the way a lot of people do pictures now is it's fake. It's not really happy. My son um has cerebral palsy, spastic leg disease, and he has a disability support worker. And he went to Cancun with his mom and took all these fabulous pictures. And I was so excited for him when he came back. I was like, oh my God, it looks like you had an amazing time. He's like, no, it was horrible. The first night she slipped and she actually fractured her hip and she had to be in a wheelchair and I was pushing her around. And I was like, then why all these fake smiley pictures? I mean, why? He's like, well, I wanted people to think that I had a really good time. And I'm just like, who cares what these people think? No, even if you had less pictures, I would have been fine with that, but all this fake smiley happiness, that you got to be more authentic.
But I mean, it's not really their fault either, because we're
No, I
conditioned to, you know, this actually goes back to actually the Second World War. Vogue magazine, and I actually recently just learned this actually through watching a movie, a documentary that they remade into a movie about Lee Miller and the photographer during the war, and how she was over there, and she was one of the first ones, maybe one of the only ones, to photograph the aftermath of like the Holocaust and things like that. And Vogue in Europe would not print those pictures, and I guess it was a real fight to even get them printed in Vogue in the U.S. because they just won the war, and then the idea was to be happy, and then somewhere along the lines, we found social media. You're not going to find too much that they do have it, but you're not going to find too much of anything that is not over the top happy, or oh, this is great, or you just don't see a lot of that. There is more creeping in, I think. Ever since COVID, I've noticed, and I'm not really on there that much, but I have noticed a difference in the amount of posts I've seen with, you know, um, where before it would be considered unsightly or unseemly. So maybe we're breaking that, but I mean, the unspoken rule was, and the same goes for all our family trips too. You're having a wonderful time, and you're going to say you're having a wonderful time, right? I mean, we never really go into those details, and we always try to paint it rosy, though.
sugarcoat it.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So I want to hear about building accountability because a lot of people will, like you said, they make excuse after excuse after excuse and just try to talk themselves out of it. What are ways to build accountability?
Well, the first and foremost is the buddy system, especially if you're not able to be accountable to yourself. I mean, studies have shown and research has shown that is if you have an accountability partner. Now, who that is kind of up in the air, because if you choose somebody who's a really good friend, then they may just go along with you, kind of not even doing it. They might go into enabling it. If you choose a mentor, then they might be go too hard, right? But the key is to always have some sort of especially in the beginning, some sort of an accountability partner, friend, teacher, parent, sibling, whatever, and that sort of helps to keep you accountable to them. And then you kind of have to start being accountable to yourself. And the first thing to ask yourself is, it's a very hard question, and not many people want to go there. I think I kind of went there a little bit personally, and I just kind of threw it to the side. Is, why can't you be accountable to yourself? What about you being you in this thing? You can't, like, why can you be accountable to somebody who's paying you to do something, but you can't be accountable to yourself for your free time, for your health, for your well-being, and things like that? And I had an interesting conversation about internalized capitalism and the values that how we're bringing external values internally, and that's why we're so messed up.
No, it's interesting you say that, because when we're born, we're like a ball of clay, and we get all this stuff in, family, culture, religion, society, your teacher, your friends, your peers. It just saturates and saturates. And not many people stop or even question, is this in my best interest? Is this the highest and best for me? Well, and we've heard that saying, don't question authority. Well, I always say question authority, always, 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 because those are old, they could be old historic structures and systems that no longer serve you any good, any purpose. And so it's really finding, no, what does my heart want? What speaks to me? What's in my best interest? Yeah, that might work for Ted over there or Sarah over there, but that doesn't resonate with me. What am I being called to? And that's a hard thing for, I think, a lot of people to do, is step back and go within and explore. Does that resonate with me? Does that speak truth to me? Or do I have a different opinion or a different feeling or a different attitude about that? What is it and why? And it's not bad when you discover it's all just information.
Well, and again, that goes back to our society as a whole, too, because if we've spent the first 18 years of our lives, the first 16 at least, I guess we'll call standard circumstances, because I'm not going to use the word normal, but in sort of standardized circumstances, you've been told what to do by parental figures or authority figures, and you're conditioned further when you go outside the home and you go to school, and you have bells and you ring, and this is what you're supposed to do, this is what you're supposed to want, advertising. And then all of a sudden, you kick them out of the nest, so to speak, like a bird. And I don't know, it's almost like they're all crashing and burning now, because they don't know what they want, because they've been inundated with things that they should want. I have a very real experience with this myself. When I was 8 years old, there was this Beetlejuice action figure and car set, right? Looked so fun. The ads were on TV all the time. And, I said, yeah, I want that. I want that. And then I get it. And then all of a sudden I'm playing with it and I'm like, that's it. Like, yeah, I don't want this anymore. I didn't even really make that connection until later, when, I went through the same pattern with my daughter. We got her a bunch of Christmas gifts, every single year, and every single year without fail, they would be played with for maybe a day, and then they'd go somewhere else to be donated or whatever after. And it's because they're getting this information from, what they're supposed to want.
Right,
So it's not their fault. It's just
right.
they haven't been asked that before.
No, they, well, it's kind of like conditioning. And it's in a way like, well, he has it, and he's more important, or he's, yeah. And there's these are the mindsets that we go through. It's just it's hard. Like, even this morning my son was saying to me, I don't even know what I'm going to do with my life, and I just feel like I'm a failure sometimes. And I looked at him and I'm like, dude, you're 16. When I was 16, I didn't even know what I was going to do with my life. I thought, oh, I might do this, this, and this. But, I learned now I had to give myself a little grace and a little bit more compassion and kindness to discover what it was I really wanted to do in life, because I didn't know. There were so many options, so many choices. I said, that's what college is about. That's what getting education is all about. Is discovering, what it is you want to do. And it's cool how you said, like with school and stuff, there are some people that did not do great in school, um, and were pretty much perceived as, oh, they're going to be a loser. They're not going to succeed in life. And they've done amazing things. There's one guy interviewed, Eric, wrote a whole book about the power of personality. And he even admits in it, oh, yeah, I was the class clown and this and that. Everyone thought, I wouldn't achieve this. But look where he is now. And everyone has that opportunity. So it's kind of like we have to get out of our head of what those I should be, I must do this. We got to get out of those concepts because there's limitless possibilities. I mean, I'm sure you didn't grow up as an 8-year-old kid saying, oh, I'm going to be a procrastination coach when I grow up.
No, I went through a lot of different phases for sure, and it's fine to do that all the way through because you know um, there are lots of people that get up into their 30s and don't know what they want to do.
Yeah.
Lots of people in their 40s. I've met people in their 60s that don't know what they want to do. They've gone through the motions. They've gone through they're quite successful careers, but they come there and they said like they didn't really know what they wanted to do. And they never really had that notion of wanting to do. They just did.
Right. They just complied, or they just, or they thought, well, this is the best I'm going to get. And they settled. And I tell people, well, you can still settle and look at that place that you settle upon as a stepping stone to something even greater. And it doesn't mean with where you are now is not good enough. No, it's fine. Exactly where you are. It puts food on the table, pays your bills, provides transportation, all that stuff. It's just temporary. Everything in life is temporary. It's not permanent. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah, I love digging into that with people as well. There's these concepts of you introduced a new word to the dynamic, but I always use the words more, enough, and now I guess you could have settle. So the most important thing that you can do, especially if you're suffering from procrastination, is to really define what enough is.
Yeah.
I mean, we are literally human beings, not human doings. So I mean, there's some baseline, level of existence, and we can be human beings and still be enough, right? We don't have to go out and achieve moon travel or build these great monasteries or um, have 21 different movies or how many. I lost count now. I think he's got six. No, he's got 127. Nicolas Cage got 127 movies or something.
Yeah.
It's some insane number. So, but what we really need to know is we need to know the difference between more and enough. And like I always say, there's no judgment. If your enough is 5 mansions and a private island with a jet, okay, that's your enough. But you have to have that enough because if you're always in that more mindset, then no matter what, and I fell into this myself. I actually hit my goal of what my enough was, and I kept going for more, and it had negative consequences. So I have a very, very good relationship with that more and enough right now.
No, I I get where you're coming from, because a lot of that could also, it can stem from, well, maybe I'll get approval by this person if I have this, or maybe my father will finally accept me if I do this, or maybe I'll be loved by this person or seen good enough if I do this. And a lot of times I'll tell people, that's just garbage. This is your life, your journey. What does your heart want? It's not this, all this external stuff. No, what's going to give you peace of mind? What's going to give you satisfaction and contentment? And can you be satisfied and content with just this? It doesn't have to be massive or huge, but where's your threshold? Because if you're always unfulfilled, it's a miserable place. It's not a happy place. And we're here on earth to be happy, to experience joy, to really live instead of just existing.
No, and I love that too because we are here where, we are human beings and we're here to have an experience, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're not meant to be aimlessly, people pleasing all the time either, because that is, when we talk about adrenal fatigue, right? We often talk about somebody who's, in adrenal fatigue as having, the fight or flight response, right? Well, you have fight, flight. You've also got freeze, which is no action, but you also have fawn,
And
which is
flop
and flop. So
and
there's
friend.
so many more of these, right?
Yeah. I think there's like 7 different trauma responses. I was actually working on a blog post about that because a lot of people don't know all the signs. And then they think the person's crazy, and they're not crazy. It's the trauma that's speaking, not the person.
Yeah, exactly. And but again, that's still just programming. It's not that there's anything wrong with the person. It's just that they just need to, like a computer, every so often it needs to be, rebooted or reconfigured or get an update.
Or you empty the recycle bin.
Or empty the recycle bin. Yeah.
Clear the cookies. So I have loved talking with you, Christopher. It's been fabulous. Where can people find you? Because you got some really good skills and abilities that people could utilize.
Yeah. The easiest place would be LinkedIn. I'm the only Chris Abdey on LinkedIn. ChrisAbdey. So that's the easiest way. Or my website, www.procrastinationstation.ca.
And you got a podcast.
Oh, yep, and I'm on the Procrastinators Pit Stop, so you can always see those episodes. We do have we actually got a couple new shows coming out. We're going to be doing a weekly segment on words, words that liberate. So we have a neurolinguistic practitioner that's going to be on there. They're going to be telling us all about the different words, and I got a couple of new shows in there. Yeah.
That's awesome because I'm trained in NLP, and I have a whole list on my wall about list of predicate phrases, things that you say for someone that is auditory, visual, kinesthetic. Yeah. Oh, words are key. Key. Cool. I'm excited about that. I will check it out myself. So, Christopher, it has been a delight and my absolute pleasure of having you here today. And I wish you most success and happiness in life. And any parting words for any of our viewers?
No, just to know again, I know I said it a few times, but if you are suffering procrastination, you're not lazy, you're not broken. Okay, you don't need to be fixed. All right, that just sounds that just sounds wrong. And if for whatever reason you can't find motivation or inspiration today, maybe just try and be motivation and inspiration for someone else, and you'd be surprised how that can kind of pick up and motivate you too.
Very good wisdom. Well, you, Chris, have a great rest of your day, and we will connect again soon. Okay. You take
Thank you
care.
so much for having me, Carrie.
Okay.